Salutations, sheeple, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Somplex0, and today we're doing a compilation of all the different Reddit stories that I've done for the last 3 weeks. So if you're somebody who holds on to them and waits for this big mass upload, here you go. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss anything. And yeah, let's get this show on the road. Our first story of today is AITA from making my graduate student walk upstairs after a knee surgery. Immediate yes. I don't know why you would make somebody walk anywhere after a knee surgery, but let's give you the benefit of a doubt for just a minute or two, even though you are on Am I the Devil? I am an assistant professor at a university with an office on the 9th floor of a building. I hold regular meetings with graduate students, and they are expected to attend unless they have a really good excuse. Failure to attend results in less involvement in research projects. This system is common here, and I must abide by it to maintain the respect of my department. Today, unfortunately, the elevator is out of order. My assistant had knee surgery 3 weeks ago and has a brace. She asked if we can meet in the lower floor communal area. There are people who walk in and out of there, and I feel like it would be too distracting. I told her that meetings are always in my office as planned, and unless she had a statement from a physician saying that she could not go up the stairs, I would not change the location or cancel the meeting. I have no doubt that she can make it up the stairs. It would just take her longer than usual. She could arrive at the building earlier. Apparently, she complained to the department head. I talked to her, the head, and she said that it is my right to hold meetings wherever I find them appropriate. However, she also said, and I quote, "It seems like a dick move." I was taken aback at the inappropriate language from my head, and I am considering filing a complaint against her with the ombudsman. Sounds like someone who will seek retaliation if she is quick to make gender-based slurs against people. I do not think I will file a Title IX claim against her, but that is not off the table. I told her I did not appreciate her words, and she said, "Just consider what I said. You can require the meeting wherever you like." I did require it in my office. My assistant made it up. She did not seem to be in any more pain as normal. We had the meeting. I reminded her that I allowed her 3 weeks off of meetings, which is a big deal to me. I expected her next week whether or not the elevator is repaired. This is an inconvenience to me as well. I am not a big fan of walking up 9 flights of stairs in dress shoes, but I have to do it. A colleague of mine told me he would have just met her downstairs, but he did not think I made a quote-unquote dick move. Another colleague told me that she would have never done what I did. I feel like they might be talking about me behind my back. Hopefully it is not the department head spreading rumors, but I will surely find out. I would like your opinions on my behavior, but also the behavior of my department head, as I think most would agree that even if what I did was unconventional, what she did was much worse. Thank you in advance. So, issue number 1 that I have with this. Oh, I had to walk up flights of stairs in my dress shoes. Woe is me. You can wear tennis shoes up the stairs and then put your dress shoes on when you get there. She can't necessarily replace her need to walk up the flight of stairs that she just had surgery on 3 weeks ago. And that gets me into my second point. Depending on what type of knee surgery she had, yes, she is perfectly capable of walking after 3 weeks, especially if she has some crutches, but rehabilitation can take months. And I am sure that whatever happened with her walking up 9 flights of stairs 3 weeks after a surgery, it would not surprise me if that caused further issues with her knee and or prolonged her recovery. Second thing, I am of the opinion, while using the words quote-unquote dick move in a professional environment, in my opinion, that's not that big of a deal, but I understand that it's a bigger deal to other people. But calling it a gender-based slur is insane work. I don't even have the mental energy to properly get into that right now. So I'm gonna leave it to you guys in the comments. And I'm gonna move on to my next point. And then immediately assuming that, oh, if there are rumors going around about me, it comes from my department head? Why would you assume that? That is a very peculiar line of thought. And then my final point, which is very inconsequential considering everything else, but are you really telling me that you are incapable of communicating with a student in a noisy environment? You're acting like she was asking to meet you on a basketball court or at a rave. I've been inside of a communal area in a college, and I'm assuming if it's similar to a library or just like a place that is in the lobby of a building where you can sit down, it's not going to be like a party there. Are you truly incapable of holding conversations if there are other people talking nearby? Side eye. I'm not even going to get into the "she didn't seem to be in any more pain than normal" comment, because you have no idea what type of pain people go through by looking at them. You are not in their body. You do not know them. You don't even care for them as fellow human beings. So I highly doubt you are able to tell what her pain levels are. This post was made 5 years ago, and I'm sure that you are probably still sitting pretty in your professor job, still being an asshole. I really hope not, but you suck. Anyways, what did you guys think about that particular professor? Great annoying way to start off the video. And with that, we're just gonna move on to the next story. Our next story is girlfriend, 29 female, of 4 months, always engages a lot less with me, 28 male, when out. I really don't need to hear that she's cheating. I have her location, and she's out in public with girlfriends. She posts me on her stories, etc., and everyone knows about me. We share locations. She sent Snapchats of me to her friends, female and male co-workers / friends. Family knows about me too. Planning on meeting them soon. The next day, things are totally fine, and she reaches out to me when I don't reach out to her, and worry about me when I don't reply to her quick enough. She has been very independent and basically has never really been in a relationship. I know checking in and everything is different for her because she's not used to doing so. I don't mind not holding a text convo from her when she's out. I am an overthinker, so sometimes I do tend to spiral when I don't hear from her or notice she is engaging with me less than she is with others. What's a little concerning to me, even though she's been doing this since before we met, she seems to snap her nights out. Pictures, memories, etc., which is great. I will usually get a couple of snaps when she's out. But I've noticed her Snapchat has gone up about 220 per day since she's been on vacation for about 4 days now. And we are exchanging about 10 a day between us. Usually, she has streaks with 7 to 8 people. Snapchat score only goes up about 40 per max regular. I just find it a little off-putting that she wants to not include me in some of these other Snapchats. I see her snap score going up to 20 and 30 while she's out, but I sometimes receive none. I'd like to ask her about it, but I don't want to come off like a weirdo. I don't know why your boyfriend can't get these Snapchats while you're out enjoying yourself, but other people are getting sent them. Maybe she's spamming her girlfriends while she's out. She would usually Snapchat videos of me when I'm with her, if I'm cooking or something. Too long didn't read. Girlfriend of 4.5 months seems to be more active on Snapchat when she's out enjoying her night. Everything else is good. I would just like to be included in more snaps of her night. Should I say something or should I leave it? Whew. Alright, so after taking like 30 minutes to scroll through OP's comment history and just the comments on this post in general, I'm not fully certain if I would consider this a devil type of situation. Like, OP is definitely the asshole. OP is definitely overly obsessive with his girlfriend's snap scores. However, I believe OP needs therapy, more friends, and more hobbies at the very minimum. His girlfriend seems to be a very busy person. They live an hour away from each other and don't get to see each other very often. And because of that, especially early on in a relationship where typically a lot of people are spending as much time as possible together, I can understand how that would raise insecurities, especially if this is OP's first relationship like it seems to be, and it is also OP's girlfriend's first relationship in about 10 years. I understand wanting to talk to your girlfriend as much as possible. However, your girlfriend is allowed to have friends and send as many snaps as she wants to her friends. I am in a position where I live with my partner, and there are days where I am messaging my friends and talking to my friends way more than I am talking to him. The same goes for him. There are days where he is talking to his friends and texting his friends more often than he is talking to me. Overall, it's okay to want to talk to your girlfriend more. It is not okay, however, to be checking and monitoring how many messages leave her Snapchat account. This one comment here under OP's original post basically explains everything that I'm thinking. Yeah, you should see a therapist. This level of overthinking and obsessiveness, keeping track of her snap score, should be discussed with a professional that can help you navigate your unreasonable feelings. If my boyfriend of 4 months started asking me about my snap score and talking about the Rain Man, like math he's been doing with it to deduce that I send snaps to other people that I haven't sent to him, let's just say there will be no 5th month anniversary. It's creepy. What's next? Monitoring her cell phone usage to see if she talks on the phone more with other people? Checking her emails? She's not an NPC, mate. She's her own individual person with experiences and friendships way before you came along and will continue to be after you're gone. Rein in this type of toxic obsession. And I don't think there could have been a better way to put it myself. You are too insecure to be in a relationship. OP needs to pursue therapy as soon as possible. And, both for the sake of himself and his girlfriend, I believe that they should break up. OP needs to learn how to be his own person and to be comfortable with himself, by himself, long before he can be ever comfortable and secure in a relationship. Tracking how many Snapchats somebody sends out or how many Snapchats you receive or don't receive, that is very peculiar behavior. I do not think that is okay. I think that there is something going on in your head that you need to discuss with a therapist, but you do not trust your girlfriend, you do not trust yourself, and you need to figure that out at the baseline before trying to figure out a relationship. Yeah, scrolling through the comment section on this one made me very conflicted. I'm not exactly sure where my thoughts lie. I do know that OP is acting very creepy. I do know that OP seems to have expectations for this relationship that aren't being met. However, I am also aware of that the expectations that OP has are completely unreasonable. From my perspective, this seems like delusion and naivety, but what do you guys think? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about this particular one, because again, I'm not exactly sure where my thoughts settle here on this. I'm gonna have to sit with this one for a little bit longer before I do decide beyond my, yes, you're the asshole, you're extremely obsessive, and you need to get help to sort that out. We're gonna leave this one here for now, and we're going to move on to our next story. And again, I would really love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, especially if there are people out there who have had partners who did have obsessive tendencies like OP has. And then if anybody is curious to read OP's comments and post history for themselves, every story I read will be linked in the comment section below. So hopefully you guys will take a glance at that and you guys can see the conclusion / lack of conclusion that I have reached for this one. Our next story is, am I the asshole for not siding with my husband after my daughter started giving him the silent treatment over a paternity test? My daughter, 16, is about 16 weeks pregnant. The father is her 19-year-old boyfriend who she's been with for 2 years. I wasn't on board with the relationship at first because of the age gap. She was just turning 14 and he was already 17. It didn't sit right with me. But my husband, her stepdad, talked me into it. He's been friends with the boy's family forever and kept saying how he was a respectful kid from a good home and that we'd be stirring up unnecessary problems if we got in the way. I let it go, but I'm starting to really regret that now. So, a couple of months ago, she comes to us and says she's pregnant. I was shocked, yeah, but I tried to stay calm. I told her we'd figure it out. My husband, though, immediately questioned if the baby was even the boyfriend's. Didn't even hide it. He just launched right into accusing her of lying. His reasoning was that they couldn't have done anything. That would have been illegal, and my daughter's boyfriend is not stupid enough to risk that, and his parents raised him better than that. When I pressed my husband by asking about what if they really did have sex, he replied simply, even if they did do it, he knows that her boyfriend would have used a condom because he's responsible. My daughter obviously denied and cried doing so, but he wouldn't let up. Told her that if he didn't agree to a paternity test, he wasn't going to support her at all. That turned into a massive fight between us. I said he was acting cold and cruel, and he said I was letting her manipulate me. We argued constantly for weeks. He kept acting like I was betraying him by not siding with him, but I was just trying to protect my kid. We had to wait until my daughter was further into her pregnancy until we could do the actual test, and it was a very dark time for my daughter. She completely shut down, barely left her room, only seemed to eat for the baby, barely spoke. I caught her crying so many times and once overheard her telling her boyfriend that maybe she should give up the baby for adoption because no one believes me anyway. That wrecked me. Meanwhile, I've been doing everything I can to show her I do believe her. I've been taking her to appointments, checking in on her constantly, just trying to be steady even when I don't have all the answers. I know I haven't been, but I've made sure she knows she's not alone. Her boyfriend and his family have been supportive the whole time. No drama, no accusations. They said if the baby's his, they'd help out with everything, and the boyfriend made it clear he wants to be involved and happily cooperated with the test. The test results finally came back and yep, the baby belongs to the boyfriend, just like she said from the beginning. She didn't yell, didn't rub it in my husband's face, she just went quiet, and ever since then she's been completely distanced with my husband. Bare minimum conversations, avoids him whenever she can. He says she's being disrespectful. I think she's just done trying. And then she asked me, actually begged me to let her stay with her dad, my ex, for a while. She was crying, saying that she didn't belong in this house anymore and that she needed space. That one hurt, but I said yes. Her dad and his girlfriend have been amazing about it, honestly. They didn't hesitate. They told her she's always welcome and that they'll help however they can. They've gone right out of their way to make her feel safe and wanted. I can't really be mad about her wanting to go over there right now. It's what she needs. Now, my husband's mad at me, says I'm letting her treat him like garbage and that I failed him as a partner by not backing him up. We got into it again. He said I've been undermining him for months. I told him that maybe if he hadn't treated her like a liar from day one, she wouldn't be shutting him out now. That maybe he should try being a father instead of a prosecutor. He didn't like that. So now he's sulking and I'm tired. Am I the asshole? So context for what I'm about to say next. When I was freshly 13 years old, I met and started dating a guy who was 17 years old. We were on and off together for about 4.5 years. And in the beginning, my mother did try to stop us from seeing each other, stop us from dating. However, wasn't necessarily successful with trying to stop that, and I still continued to see him anyways. So I am well aware of the possibility of if OP had attempted to stop the relationship, that the daughter would have probably tried to continue it in secret to the best of her ability. I am not going to bash OP too much here because my story about me and my ex is genuinely a fear of mine. Even though I was at one point the child, I do not know how I would prevent or prepare my child from dating the person that comes up to her who is way out of her age and maturity range. I do not know what I would say to warn her about being with somebody who has a maturity level that is completely different than yours. That is something I think about every other day. That is something I worry about. I do not know what the answer or the solution here is. Accounting for the fact that apparently OP started dating her current husband when she was 20 and he was 32, and the power dynamics that come from that, especially seeing as OP had her child very young. OP got pregnant at 18, probably had her kid at about 19, broke up with her dad around that point, and then met her current husband when she was 20 and he was 32. OP doesn't have much of a support system, very obviously. Yeah, I don't know what the solution here is. I don't know how I would have done differently. All I will say is OP now has a choice to make. Either she can stay with her husband, who instantaneously accused her daughter of being a liar, or she needs to work to leave to be in a place to be able to properly care for her daughter. I'm glad that OP's daughter has her dad and his girlfriend. But at the end of the day, while OP doesn't currently have any supportive support system, if she does not make moves to get away from her husband, her relationship with her daughter will continue to be strained, because her daughter will see that as, you chose somebody who hurt me so drastically in one of my lowest points in time over me. Your daughter, your flesh and blood. I'm not really sure what else further to say here. I'm gonna leave this one up in the comments to you guys. Do you have any recommendations for OP or any other parents in a similar situation? While 14 and freshly 17, technically speaking, isn't that much of an age gap, there is a significant maturity gap. One of them just finished being a middle schooler, and the other one is about to go off to college. Just like somebody who is 18 versus 22 is that person just entered adulthood versus this person is entering the workforce. Those are different stages of life, and I personally am of the opinion that those two things don't necessarily mix together. You can disagree with me on this if you like. In fact, I highly encourage disagreeing with me. However, if you were that one guy who comes into my comment section and called me crazy and insane for thinking that age gap relationships aren't necessarily a healthy thing a decent chunk of the time, I will not hesitate to respond accordingly. I highly encourage people to disagree with me on things like this, especially when it comes to the subreddit Am I the Devil, because I recognize that everybody has different life experiences, and that's why I love coming to these subreddits and talking about these things and seeing what other people have to think. However, I will not tolerate any name calling. I will not tolerate disrespect, whether that disrespect is aimed towards me or somebody else in my comment sections. Proceed with that knowledge. My 25 male girlfriend, 26 female, has trust issues. How do I get her to work on her trust issue before it ruins the relationship? My girlfriend and I are at an impasse right now. To start off, my girlfriend and I are both co-workers. We work on 2 different floors, but can occasionally talk to each other at least on Teams, and we'll get lunch together. It's great. She's a fantastic girlfriend. Some issues arose because another woman at work knew I had a girlfriend and still decided to flirt with me and encouraged me to cheat. I immediately shut it down, and at first, my girlfriend handled it maturely, but obviously didn't like the woman after that. I can say the woman apologized and respected my boundaries. So when we were talking and she offered to teach me how to swim, I took her up on the offer. We have gone twice and I am making progress. Somehow, my girlfriend found out, I don't know how, and she became angry and said it's inappropriate and told me to stop going with her. I told her no. 1, I want to learn how to swim and I'm learning for free. 2, we coworkers still need to be cordial. 3, she should trust me because I'm not the type to cheat. She's still angry and laying in the other room. I just want advice before I go talk to her. Oh my god, dude. Okay, first things first. The second that random girl came up to you and was like,
hey, I cheat on your girlfriend with me. Like, I can do you can do so much better, and I am the better, even though I'm obviously not better because I'm a home wrecker and I don't care about that because I just want somebody else's partner.
You should have kept communication with her to strictly work related, and it is very clear that you did not do that. Strike number 1. Strike number 2, you then decided to go and do an activity with said chick that involves being significantly less clothed than usual, i.e., swimming. You are hanging out with this person who you shouldn't be more than coworkers with in the first place now, and you are also in a situation where people are precariously dressed. So that's peculiar. That is very peculiar. Even if it wasn't swimming, you did not tell your girlfriend that you were hanging out with this particular girl because you knew what her reaction would be. So you hid the fact that you are hanging out with somebody who wanted to wreck your relationship from your girlfriend. So just to recap so far, you didn't immediately stop trying to hang out with said coworker. You are hanging out with the coworker where you are wearing less clothes than you would ever wear in an office type of setting. You are hiding it from your girlfriend. Those are 3 strikes right there. But then, just to put some cherries on top, you are like, oh, my girlfriend should trust me because I'm not the type to cheat. You're not proving that at all, my guy. You are hanging out with somebody who wanted you to cheat on your girlfriend with her. You are lying to your girlfriend about who you are hanging out with, whether directly lying to her about where you are or lying by omission. Both lying still counts. And then you're wondering why she has trust issues? My guy, she has trust issues because she doesn't have a reason to trust you. The initial thing about the girl coming up to you, that's not your fault. Just taking what you wrote at bare minimum face value. You shut it down, you told your girlfriend about the situation. That's what you should do. But what you didn't do was cut the girl off. Was reduce it to just coworkers. You can be cordial with the coworker and no longer be friendly with them. And now you're trying to put this solely on her? Wow. You completely and totally suck. But I'm going to leave that one there.
I fake cry in front of my kids because I don't know how else to get them to care. I, 38 male, have 2 kids, 10 and 12. Their mom and I divorced 3 years ago, and I only see them on weekends. They're good kids, but sometimes they treat me like a vending machine with a driver's license. I ask how school is, I get shrugs, I plan outings, and they complain. Their mom is fun, and I'm boring. So sometimes, when they're ignoring me or being cruel in the way that only kids can be, I go into the bathroom and cry loud enough for them to hear. The first time I did it, it wasn't fake. But now, sometimes it is. Because after I cry, they knock. They hug me. They say, I'm sorry, Dad. They sit with me and tell me things they never would have otherwise. I know it's manipulative. I know I should be the grown-up and not use emotion like a fishing hook. But I miss them. I miss feeling like their dad and not just some guy who picks them up twice a week.
My god. Okay. Get therapy. I would say if you really miss being a dad, try and see what you can do to get your kids week on, week off. But until you get your stuff sorted to where you're not, emotionally manipulating your 10 and 12-year-old children, I'm just gonna leave that sentence there. Sort yourself out, my good sir. We're just gonna move right on into our next story.
Am I the asshole for publicly shaming my brother after he skipped my wedding day to play video games? I, 30 female, had my wedding a few weeks ago to my wonderful husband. We both hate big weddings, so from the start we agreed to invite immediate family, close friends, and nobody else. The guest list turned out to be less than 20 people total. The only person who ended up not making it was my younger brother, 17 male. My parents said he had gotten sick the night before, and while I was obviously upset, it made sense, and I felt bad for him. The wedding was still wonderful, and I probably wouldn't have remembered he wasn't there if he really had just been sick that day. It wasn't until a week ago that my husband said he had to talk to me about something and admitted everything. My brother does Twitch streaming, just playing games with his friends, and my husband follows him because he plays games too. My husband told me during the wedding he got a notification on his phone that my brother had gone live and started streaming. He hadn't known how to tell me or if he should tell me. He didn't want to ruin how happy I was all day, but he hated the idea of helping my brother keep it a secret. At first, I was willing to believe it was some kind of mistake, but he pulled up a video of my brother playing some game that day. My husband explained that the game was an alpha test that not everyone could play, and there was only a few days of it. Even now, I'm so upset about it. I always thought that my brother and I were fairly close, and the fact that he not only skipped out on the most important day of my life, but lied about it is so unbelievably heartbreaking. I immediately called my parents, and he admitted to them that he lied. He's in major trouble with them. But I was just so angry about it, and I did something that I probably shouldn't have. I went on to Facebook and made a post about it, calling him a lot of very mean things, and explaining how hurtful it was that he didn't even think I was important enough to be honest to. I also admitted that I had picked him up from a party last year after he lied to our parents about it, and that he had been drinking there. I took the post down the next morning, but the damage was already done. The entire family is arguing about it now, and it's making what should be the first few weeks of the rest of my life so stressful. My parents are furious with me for making it a public issue, and with him for how much he's lied. And the extended family is split down the middle on whether or not I'm being rude by making this public, or if he's a little jerk that deserves this. I know I shouldn't have made the post, but I just can't bring myself to regret it, knowing that my own brother that I helped raise couldn't be bothered to show up for one day. It hurts so much, and I think he could stand to be humbled. At the same time, the entire family is in a tailspin about it, and I can't help but feel like I made this into a much bigger issue than it needed to be. So, am I the asshole?
For this one, I'm not sure why it has been given devil status. Maybe it's just that my standards for what are true and proper devil are just a bit higher than everybody else's. But this is definitely like an everyone sucks here type situation. But I do think OP sucks more, because she's a 30-year-old woman going onto Facebook and publicly shaming her 17-year-old brother. He is nearly half her age. Yet she's going on to Facebook and publicly shaming him? I get not wanting to go to a wedding, but first of all, it's your sister's wedding. Out of all weddings that you should definitely try and attend no matter what, it's going to be the wedding of your sister. And I get getting into an alpha test, but there was later on that night, my guy. You didn't have to play the game right then and right there. Like, come on, dude. That was shitty behavior. However, the sister saying things like he needs to be humbled, and then also being like, oh, and by the way, he did this thing a year ago that is 100% going to get him into trouble. I'm going to tell everybody about it on Facebook, and I'm going to tell our parents, and yada, 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 yada. And now he's going to be in big trouble, and now he's humbled because he didn't show up to my wedding. Like, how dare he? One, if you were going to tell his parents, you should have told his parents when you picked him up from drinking. But two, he clearly saw you as a safe person to rely on. He's not going to see that as the case anymore, because very clearly you can use whatever against him the second that you feel slighted. And I'm not saying that you weren't slighted here in this situation, but feeling the need to humble a 17-year-old, that's just very, very peculiar. I understand being hurt, but have a sit-down conversation with your brother. Have a sit-down conversation with your parents, your family, your immediate family about it. Not going on to Facebook so you can bash the fuck out of him, and also probably call the rest of your family to berate him for his actions. And I'm not sure exactly what the proper consequence here is. If my younger sister decided to play video games instead of showing up to my wedding, that would probably hurt my feelings, but also at the same time, I am not as attached to the idea of weddings as the rest of the world is. I would feel hurt, I know that for a fact, but I don't think that I would feel the need to humble my little sister. Even though my little sister is an annoying brat who definitely needs to be humbled,
humbled. But I'll do that by flicking her in the forehead, not by publicly shaming her on Facebook to the rest of our family and whoever else could see it. Maybe next time, try writing all your thoughts out in a diary or in your notes app. Go to sleep, wake up the next morning, see how you feel, because this was a very peculiar response, in my opinion. Devil status? But hey, what do I know? Again, I'm not really all that attached to the idea of weddings. So you guys in the comments, what do you guys think about this? I'd particularly like to hear your opinion on it because I'm not leaning too much in either way for this. Yeah, the brother sucks. I think the adult sucks more because the adult knows better, but also a 17-year-old should know, at the very minimum, if you're going to skip a wedding to play video games, at least not go live on Twitch. I was about to curse in Spanish, but I probably shouldn't curse in any language because YouTube can hear me. We're just gonna move on to the next story. Okay, so I read ahead a little bit on this story. I apologize in advance if I yell. I will attempt to level that out to my very best. But before we continue, I would like to give a content warning for behaviors of somebody hurting their own body, including but not limited to not eating properly. To put this extremely simply and lightly, because I do not know what I can and cannot say on the YouTubes. Am I the asshole for confronting my daughter about her disturbing diary in public? Hi, Reddit. This happened a while ago, but I still think about it often. I made a throwaway for this. My daughter was 13 then. She was quiet and private, kept to herself. We didn't think anything was seriously going on. She did well in school, acted normal around us. Nothing obvious to worry about. Well, maybe one thing. I found a drawer full of diet pills and laxatives. I asked her. She said it was nothing. I figured if it were serious, she'd talk to me or show a sign. She didn't, so I let it go. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I thought it was just a phase. One day, while she was on a school trip, I was looking for a letter. I went through her drawers and found a notebook. Something sharp fell out. I opened it. It was her diary. I know I shouldn't have read it, but I did. And what I saw was shocking. She was hurting, hated herself, and was angry. She wrote about how much she was struggling, about us and her life. It was hard to read. Her little sister, 11 then, read it too. I told my husband. We didn't know what to do. It felt bigger than us. So we decided to talk to her. We thought doing it in public might keep things calm. A restaurant seemed safe. So we went out to dinner. Both girls. At first, she was relaxed. When I put the diary on the table, she froze. Then she cried. We told her we had read it, that we'd found a therapist. We just wanted to help. The waitress came in the middle of it and asked for her order. She just kept her head down and said the cheesy noodles. It was hard to watch, but I thought we should carry on. Keep things steady. After that, we moved the conversation back to her school trip. Tried to make her feel like things weren't falling apart. I thought this was the right way to handle it. We never talked about it again, except once, when she was meant to go visit a friend out of state. The trip had been planned for months, but we told her she couldn't go. We wanted to keep a closer eye on her. She cried and told me this friend was the only thing keeping her grounded. I panicked. I said that if she kept crying like that, I'd have her admitted to a mental hospital. Then I left the room. After that, nothing. She saw a therapist for 6 months. Then said she was fine and wanted to stop. We had a final session. That was it. I told her I wouldn't tell anyone, but I told my brother. He asked her about the scars and she shut down. Maybe I shouldn't have told him, but I needed someone to hear me. I started seeing a psychiatrist too. I told people it was for work stress, but also because I felt I'd failed as a mother. I told the family I was exhausted, that I was fragile. Maybe I needed someone to notice me too. Sometimes, I fear she thinks I stole her sickness, since no one really knows what was going on. They just saw me struggling. So can you tell me if I'm the asshole? The amount of obscenities that I wish to scream into my microphone right now. First of all, how dare you read your daughter's diary at the age where teens are developing some sense of privacy, when you had no reason. Well, you did have reasons to be worried about her, but you purposely chose to ignore them, but we'll get back to that in a second. You had no reason to think that she was in danger and invade her privacy in order to make sure that she was safe, and then you decided to give that diary to your 11-year-old to read as well.
Actually, I am going to double back to this a lot sooner than I intended to.
You saw that your daughter had diet pills and laxatives in her drawer and thought, well, nothing seems to be wrong.
Where did your daughter get a bunch of diet pills from? Why did you not see that as a thing to, check in with your daughter about then and there?
Hey, you're 13 years old. You're growing. You shouldn't be dieting. Where did you get these pills from? Why do you feel like you need to take them? Maybe we should get you into therapy so that way we can, figure things out. Because as your mother, I'm not really certain what to do here, but I wish to help you and be there for you.
But no, instead,
you wait God knows how long. You once again invade her space while she was on a school trip and read her diary, and then had your 11-year-old read that same diary. If there is any need for anybody to read the diary, the only other person it should have been was your husband, so that way you guys can assemble a game plan together. And then you take her to a public restaurant and say, I found your diary and I read every single last one of your interpersonal thoughts that you have never once willingly shared to me. And also everybody at this table knows every single one of your personal thoughts. And I'm revealing this to you in public and talking to you about this extremely vulnerable conversation that involves being extremely vulnerable. And I'm doing it in a public place, so that way you can't lash out at me in response. I don't want you to lash out at me, because I know that if I did this at home, you would get rightfully upset with me for reading your diary.
And so instead, you trap her in a public place, forcing her to not even respond, or forcing her to not be able to be open with herself. You now have her crying in the middle of a public restaurant, with her entire family there, with her sister there, which her sister should not have been involved in this whatsoever. Not at all. Ooh, I'm getting loud. I am not going to comment on the out-of-state thing because I understand wanting to keep your kid close to you if you are concerned about your kid. Also, me personally, I wouldn't have let my kid go out of state to visit a friend. So I'm not going to comment on that particular thing. However, when telling your kid that you are no longer allowing her to go out of state, you say, hey, no going out of state for you. And then when your kid is understandably upset about no longer being able to hang out and see their friend, you say, if you keep crying, I'm going to send you to the mental hospital. If you keep being vulnerable to me as a 13-year-old child, as my 13-year-old child, I'm going to send you to Grippy Sock Jail and not try and figure out another way out of this situation. I haven't been to a mental hospital, but I do know that they're not always the best places.
And saying that as a threat in response to your kid being upset? Wow. Just wow. And then you proceeded to promise her that you wouldn't tell anybody else after revealing it to her sister and confronting her about this in the most public way you possibly could have. You then go and tell your brother. Instead of a therapist or a psychiatrist so you can figure out how to properly parent and sort through whatever issues you clearly have since you are blind to your child's issues. And now her brother knows and is asking her about her self-harming scars, which somehow none of you have noticed before. And then now, after all of this, you quote-unquote have the fear that you think that she stole her sickness? What even is that supposed to mean? Are you saying that you think that she stole the attention away from herself? The sympathy that she deserves? Like, what is that supposed to mean, OP? I would really love it if you could explain yourself, but your post was deleted, and I think your account's banned by the time that I see this, so who knows if I'll ever get an explanation on that. But that particular wording makes me think, are you making this entire thing about what you need and your fears? Instead of being a parent and putting all of those things to the side and being there for your kid who is clearly going through a bunch of stuff. I went back and just skimmed over this again. This entire thing, I don't see you trying to comfort your daughter once. I just see, I know what's going on in your head. We're going to get you to therapy. If you continue to be emotional, I'm going to send you to the mental hospital. I don't see you attempting to comfort your daughter at all. You needed somebody to notice you too? My bad, I didn't realize that you were the one who was starving yourself. My bad, I didn't realize that you were the one who was purposely ejecting food from your body, who was hurting themselves, who was a 13-year-old, a very at-risk demographic for mental health struggles as it is. I didn't notice that, my bad. I understand that being a parent is hard, but you have made the wrong decision at every possible turn, every single possible turn. And I am hoping and praying that this is fake. But even if it is fake, I know that stuff like this still happens. I know that there are parents out here in the world who do not know how to properly parent or care for their kids. I'm just hoping that OP's daughter will be able to work through everything. That despite the fact that she doesn't seem to have a proper support system surrounding her, especially since she has quit therapy for who knows whatever reason, I hope that she's okay. This just brought back a lot of memories and feelings from when I went to my mom and I said, "Hey mom, I'm extremely depressed and sad and upset constantly. And the only reason why I haven't done anything to myself is because of my little internet friends on my little Kick app, because you never let me go outside." And she responded to me by saying, "Put some lavender oil under your nose." So maybe I'm projecting, but actually, I'm just gonna leave that there. This is what I meant when I was saying that my guidelines for being a true and proper devil are a bit higher than other people's on this subreddit. Because the other posts that I see are, "I yelled at somebody. I did something extremely immature and petty. Yada, 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 yada." Like stuff like that. That's what I normally run into on this subreddit. But then there's stuff like this, where OP is doing nothing but hurting the people that she needs to be caring for along every step of the way. And this is what, in my opinion, is a true and proper devil. But what do you guys think? I get that being a parent is hard, but surely people can't be this oblivious to so many signs that the daughter clearly exhibited, right? Like, I know that not everybody knows. I know that nobody struggles with mental health as much as me and the people around me do. But you see diet pills in your 13-year-old's drawer and don't worry about the fact that she's trying to diet? Man, this one got me. I'm sorry, guys. I was trying to find some true and proper devil stories today, and I forgot that, like, true and proper devil stories are diabolical. But we're gonna move on to the next story from here. For our final story of the day, we have something that is less devastating to read than the last story and more just frankly annoying. And I think that this is a solid way to end things off.
Am I the asshole to be annoyed by a girl who always brings along her friend when I invite her? So I, 28 male, and several others got invited about 2 to 3 months ago to the housewarming party of one of my good friends. He invited a lot of people, including his other group of friends, which he is still very close with. Among them were 2 people that we got along with pretty well that day. A girl, 27 female, and a guy, 28 male. Over the next few weeks, I kept talking a bit with her over text, and I decided to include her in our group plans. Having a couple drinks on Friday evening, party somewhere, hanging out over the weekend, etc. Just to preface, she's already in a relationship. I just wanted to get along with her. Almost every time, she asked if she could bring someone along. She barely knows anybody in our big group. We're about 10 plus people whenever we hang out, and we're mostly guys with a few girls. She's only met a few of us once, so I accepted. She might feel more comfortable if there was someone else she knew too. And that's why she brought along the guy in question, who happens to be her best friend. The more the merrier. They both fit in pretty well. But then she kept asking if she can invite him every time I invited her to other plans with us. And at this point, it's almost expected that he'll be included too. Even the others expect him to be there, and they like him. The issue is I don't exactly like him all that much for no reason in particular. He seems like a decent guy, but I'm not excited about having him there. I only go along with it because the others appreciate him. And also because it's the only way to have her make an appearance. If he's not available that day, I notice she's much less likely to come by herself. And whenever one of them is about to leave, they just leave together, even if it's still a bit early into the evening. Because of that, I kind of feel extra annoyed because I just want to have her spend more time with us. But he's the extra I have to put up with, for lack of a better word. If it was her boyfriend, I wouldn't mind it. But he's just a friend of hers. I talked to her about it. I felt that it was pretty rude that she always brought him along to our plans since I'm inviting her and never specifically mentioned him. She didn't think much of it. She made sure to ask if it was alright every time. And since I accepted, I had no right to be mad about it. She also argued that the others liked him being there too. I can see her point and why I might be the asshole, but I still feel like it's pretty rude to just make that request every single time since it forces me into having her invite her +1 just to be able to see her. Like, what do I tell her? That I don't like her best friend to the point that I don't want him here? And is she so uncomfortable with what I'm assuming is all the guys and people she doesn't know here? They're all good people. Why not decline directly instead of inviting that guy? Since then, we barely texted. I feel like I acted a bit childish, but still, her needing to have her +1 is annoying. Am I the asshole?
One, why do you want to have this girl alone so much? Everybody around you seems to be perfectly fine with her bringing this friend, especially since they also like that friend too. So why exactly do you want this girl to come alone? Why does it annoy you so much to the point that you are actively starting to despise a person for being around her? She asks every time if she can bring a +1 and you say yes. Are you expecting her to bring one of her hot girlfriends that you can flirt with her? Or are you hoping that eventually one day she'll show up alone? And since her friend isn't there and her boyfriend isn't there, you can flirt with her since you want to get so close to her, and apparently that's an issue with other people around. That's very odd. Yeah, she's starting to get to know the group of people that you guys are hanging out with, but that is still a group of 10 plus people that she isn't necessarily fully familiar with, that are mostly guys. And one of them is weirdly insistent on wanting her to be by her lonesome so he can get to know her more. I think it's reasonable for other people to want to bring a +1. Especially if that +1 seems to be so openly welcomed by everybody else. But that's just me and my opinion. What do you guys think about this one? This one? I'm getting weird vibes from this person here, but we're just gonna leave that there for now. AITA for withdrawing from the friendship with a non-romantic friend and blocking her because she borrowed money from me as support during her pregnancy. I, male, have a non-romantic friend, Brandy, who really put effort into our friendship. Moreover, I made very bad experiences with lending friends money, i.e., I've already lent a non-romantic friend, Sarah, $10,000, for which she even feigned a pregnancy. In contrast to Brandy, Sarah did not even put any effort into our friendship. Brandy knew all of this. Brandy now became pregnant with a man who was unfit to be a father, since he threatened to abort her unborn child. Because of that, Brandy asked me to lend her $2,000 as support during her pregnancy. I immediately complied to this request. However, doing so opened a lot of old wounds, and hence my cost of all my emotional strain. Ever since then, interacting with Brandy made me deeply uncomfortable, making things worse. While both of us had never had romantic interest in each other, supporting her, a non-romantic friend, that much during her pregnancy gave me this very strange feeling again. As if a friend asked me to clean up after his party to which I had never been invited in the first place, after the actual preferred guest of my friend first demolished the furniture and then ran off. Unfortunately, since I also made bad experiences with talking to a friend about feeling troubled or hurt by him, and I find arguments and conflicts between me and my friends deeply troublesome, Brandy also knew about this, I decided to block Brandy out of the blue. It took Brandy 2 weeks to notice this. She then texted me via another number to ask me what is up. As I told her I blocked her, including the reasons for me doing so, and that I needed some distance, she blamed me for dropping her and letting her down during a very difficult time, and that I'd be a bad friend. She also blamed me for seeing her on the same level as Sarah, which I never did. Overall, I can't quite get why Brandy blamed me for being a bad friend and letting her down. She knew about my bad experiences with lending friends money and my thoughts about getting financial support during a pregnancy from a non-romantic friend, since I talked with her about Sarah, and she still asked me for financial support. Nevertheless, I immediately helped her to the requested extent, even though this help put enormous emotional strain onto me. She not only failed to see this strain, but she failed to notice my withdrawal until I blocked her. In the contrary, in my honest opinion, she should be thankful that I, nevertheless, helped her, and should not be angry with me for now needing my distance from her. So, am I the asshole for withdrawing from the friendship with Brandy and blocking her? Too long didn't read. A non-romantic friend asked me for financial support during her pregnancy, despite knowing about my bad experiences with lending friends money. Nevertheless, I immediately helped her, but I also blocked her from some time afterward, because I now find interacting with her too troublesome, which in return made her blame me for being a bad friend. This is weird vibes. First of all, you clearly want to sleep with your friends? Did you think that giving her the truth, your constant emphasis on non-romantic friends is very peculiar to me. If you want to cut somebody off, feel free to do so. But you never had to give Brandy money. Also, I want to know, what's the whole story with Sarah? Did she fake a pregnancy just to, steal money from you? And you claim to not be putting Sarah and Brandy on the same level, but
it seems like you're putting them on the same level. I'm not gonna lie, this post isn't very coherent to me, and I could just be delirious and tired even though it is 9:45 in the morning, but this isn't making much sense to me. You block somebody because you lent them money. Yeah, I'm reading the comments here. One commenter says, comparing your friend's uterus to a party you haven't been invited to and should now clean up after a preferred guest has demolished the furniture is frankly disturbing. You're the asshole. I highly agree. That is very, very peculiar wording, especially with the whole non-romantic friend thing on top of everything. Another comment says, you're the asshole. I don't understand how you went from your friend needs financial assistance to this is about me to you breaking off your friendship with someone you obviously cared for based on your history. You sound like a confused teenager who did something and now you're making it about yourself. And what? You didn't get praise for giving her the money? I'm sorry, but this whole rambling story doesn't make much sense aside from your friend needed help, you provided help, and now it's being made about you and you're breaking off the friendship because, and paraphrasing, reasons which are not explained. Yeah, you're pissed off at Brandy because you lent her money and you cut her off. Like, this one's confusing. This one has me a bit bamboozled, guys. Like, does Brandy suck for asking for money from a friend who has trauma revolving around having a bunch of money being requested from them? Me personally, I wouldn't do that, but I don't know anything about Brandy. Maybe this was her absolute last option, but me personally, I'd pull out a loan from a bank before doing that. So I will say iffy on Brandy's part there. However, in the end, it's OP's complete and total decision on whether or not to give the money. I'm going to agree with the comments that I've seen so far. Just skimming it, everybody seems to say you're the asshole. So I'm going to agree with them there. This person is the asshole. What do you guys think about this particular story? This was a bit hard for me to read. I should have read it ahead first so I could understand a little bit more about what the heck was trying to be said. But we're just going to leave that there for now and move on to the next story. Quick little content warning for mention of illegal substance use, or alluding to it at the very minimum. Am I the asshole for calling Child Protective Services on my wife's cousin? A few days ago, my wife received a call from her aunt. Her aunt told her that my wife's cousin OD'd on some hard drugs while at home alone with her infant son. On top of that, she said they needed to find a family member to take in the baby or else CPS was going to take the baby, so they were asking my wife if she could take the child in. My wife agreed and headed to the city, which is a 5-hour drive away. At first, her entire family was unified in saying all the same thing about the OD and my wife taking the baby. But after my wife went to buy some infant supplies, they all froze her out, stopped replying or sending contradictory messages. After 8 hours, my wife gave up and came home. The next morning, some new info came out. The cousin didn't OD on hard drugs. It was her first day on new medication and she messed up the dosage, so it made her fall asleep really heavy. The aunt showed up and called 911 when she couldn't wake her up. Here's the thing though, the aunt and everyone else involved knew it wasn't an overdose before they called my wife to take the kid in. CPS was never involved or said that the baby needed to go to somewhere else. We are so confused and stressed about this. The cousin was also involved. She apparently was the one to suggest my wife take the child. We were going to wipe our hands of the situation, but then we thought better to be safe and call CPS to see if they had any insight or anything. They said that the erratic behavior was concerning and that they would open a file. Today, the cousin called, losing her mind because CPS reached out. That entire side of the family said that we are trying to steal her baby. What? Okay, well, what are all these weird situations going on with stories today? Not the asshole. Your wife spent 18 hours trying to help your cousin and her family in general. Probably not sleeping the entire time, worried about a child. I don't know the exact specific and details, but that's 5 hours of driving there, 8 hours of stressing and worrying about the wife's cousin and the wife's cousin's child. And then after spending a bunch of money on baby supplies, she's like, I can't do anything. Nobody is letting me help. I guess I just have to go home and do the 5-hour drive again. Probably still stressed out and worried this entire time. I think calling CPS was the right call here because what else can you really do? Clearly the aunt and cousin aren't telling you the whole situation. And this is concerning and erratic behavior. Going into the comments, we have somebody saying, not the asshole. If there's nothing wrong and it's all a misunderstanding, CPS won't take the baby away. But that's just a weird situation, so it's better to be on the safe side.
I heavily agree. Not the asshole. Another person says, not the asshole. You just want what's best for the baby. And you're right, it's a sketchy situation. I guess I can see why the family is panicked. If there's more to the story, it's better that CPS gets to the bottom of it. I don't understand why they lied to your wife. Yeah, I don't... What the hell? What the heck? This doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. We have a comment requesting info here, which got a response. Info. How did you find out about the follow-up information about the medication mix-up? Also, other than the aunt and cousin, how many people were involved in this situation? What reason did your aunt give the wife for not taking in her grandchild? The following up info came from my wife's sister. She was with the aunt being given different info. They finally talked the day after. As for people involved, well, there was my wife's aunt, cousin, dad, uncle, and sister, although the sister was kept in the dark about what they were telling my wife. The aunt has some semi-severe medical issues. She basically said she wasn't physically capable. She is a 60-year-old woman that has not taken care of herself at all. That's really weird and peculiar. And OP is most definitely not the asshole for trying to make sure that the child is okay, because what is going on in that situation? Peculiar? What do you guys think? I'm just gonna move on and leave that one there. Anyways, moving on to our next story. Would I be the asshole if I told my friends I hated my bachelorette party? Backstory. My husband and I were in the same friend group before we got together. So his friends are my friends, or so I like to think. My husband does not like to celebrate his birthdays. He much prefers staying at home and gaming and eating a nice meal. I, on the other hand, love making a big deal out of my birthday. I am in the middle of 4 kids, and my birthday is early January, so I got a lot of Christmas/birthday gifts, and my parents were always broke after Christmas, so my birthday has always felt like an inconvenience/chore. I really like having a day that's just about me once a year. My husband's birthday is less than 2 weeks away from my birthday. My first birthday party after we got together, a lot of our friends also brought gifts for him, and it kind of became our birthday party. 2 people brought only gifts for him and none for me, which I kind of thought was rude and hurtful. Next year was the same, and after that, I just started calling it a joint birthday party for both of us. At least then, it hurts less when I call it our birthday from the start rather than it turns into his party when it's supposed to be my party. I wanted to plan my own bachelorette party, but my friends told me that they were planning one for me and that it was a tradition that the bride not be involved with the planning of the bachelorette. So, I backed off, and I was actually really excited. No one has ever planned a surprise for me, nor a party. Day of the bachelorette party, a friend wants to get takeout and hang out at our apartment. We get the food, and when we get home, all of our friends are there. You guessed it, a joint bachelor party. The whole thing was 2.5 hours start to finish. We ate, watched a movie, and chatted before everyone left before 5 p.m. The whole thing was very much catered to my husband. He's very laid back, likes to stay in and relax. I'm kind of the opposite. Think theater kid. And I would have enjoyed well enough if it was someone else's get-together, but this was supposed to be my bachelorette party. The wedding is our party, but this was supposed to be something just for me, and I felt like a guest more than anything. In hindsight, I don't know why I didn't see this coming. Too long didn't read. Friends always make my birthday party about my husband who has a birthday very close to mine. They gave us a joint bachelor's party, and it was catered to him. Edit, just wanted to clarify. When I mentioned my husband got 2 presents and I didn't, that was not a joint birthday gift. It was my first birthday after getting together with my husband. We had only been together for a few months and 2 of our friends showed up with gifts for him and not for me. It wasn't his birthday nor his party. That's why it upset me. Not the asshole about feeling the way you do. I don't know how you would go about communicating this to your friends that you hated your bachelorette party. My partner's birthday is 2 days after mine, and he is very much stay inside type of person, while I'm I like to go out type of person. In the few years that we've been together, we've established a routine of we celebrate our birthdays either together, separately, or both. It kind of switches off depending on the year and what the day, it depends and all that fun stuff, right? I also grew up in a situation where birthday parties couldn't really be catered towards. I'm fortunate enough to have a middle of the year birthday, a May birthday. Condolences to all the kids born near Christmas. I genuinely feel for you. I'm so sorry. So I very much empathize with OP here. Birthdays are important, and having a bunch of people that you think care about you not cater to them, and that sucks. That really freaking sucks. I don't know how to handle this situation personally. maybe talk to your maid of honor, because I'm assuming that maid of honor would be like your very closest friend, and say, hey, what's up with the bachelorette party? This kind of hurt my feelings. Like, and then maybe move from there. Like, have a conversation about it, explain why it hurt your feelings, and if there's enough time and money and resources, maybe just try and see if like your closest of closest friends could do a completely separate bachelorette party focusing on just you, like it should be and like you deserve, because everybody deserves to have their own special day. Yeah, I don't know exactly what specific advice to give here. Do you guys have any advice for OP on this one? I feel like I'm letting them down because I don't really know what to say. I went into the comments. I heavily agree with this person here. Sounds like they're his friends and not yours. Time to find your own. I will let husband, fiance, know so you can lean on him and so he knows. Hey, I'm going to join a theater troupe, or play a new instrument, join an art class, etc. Also, let him know you feel like you went from a burden or an afterthought, and for once, you want to feel special, considered, and valued. I hope that he rises to the occasion on that account. You do deserve that, by the way. Yeah, that get new friends. These do feel like they're just his friends, but this situation sucks. I'm sorry, OP. I hope that you are able to get your one-on-one birthday celebrations. In fact, you know what? I, Sami Sorio, of the Somplex Zero channel, decree that everyone who doesn't have their own birthdays for whatever reason, whether that is because they're a twin who doesn't really like celebrating their birthday with their twin, they share it with another family member or another friend, or like for whatever reason your birthdays get joined together and you're not a big fan of that, you are allowed to have your birthday 3 to 6 months later, and that is now your official birthday for celebration purposes. And so it is decreed. So you were born January 1st, your birthday is now April 1st. Actually, no, not April 1st, April 2nd. You were born the week surrounding Christmas, you now have a June birthday. And so it is law. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there. I don't feel like there's anything else specifically I could add on to that. Fairly solid stories, and unlike the last Am I the Devil video, this didn't raise my blood pressure significantly so. I hope you guys liked today's videos. Thank you so much for reaching the end. I hope you guys liked today's videos, and thank you so much for reaching the end. I hope to see you guys in the next one, but in case I don't, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.